Okay guys, this is going to be a very basic introduction into Tinkercad. My name is Annie. I run the West Georgia Regional Library STEAM engine. Some of you guys may know me if I visited your school or your local library, but we're going to be working with Tinkercad today. There are other 3D design options out there, such as Blender, which is really nice, but I am by far not an expert in this. It's something I'm still learning, and it is much more professional and much more difficult than Tinkercad. Tinkercad is a really great way to learn the absolute basics of 3D design. As you can see here are some of the really cool things that you can make on Tinkercad. So we're just going to go over some basics on how to change shapes, move things around, and make very simple designs. First thing you want to do is sign in. You can either choose if you're a student or an educator. If you already have your student login, you can click that. Otherwise, sign in with an account. Once you are signed in, it will take you to your recent design page. As you can see here, here are some things that both I and other students at schools have already designed. I'm just going to start with a new design. Okay, this is your basic layout. This right here is your work plane, as it states. This is going to be where you're building the main portion of your design. Now, if you zoom out, all of this is technically where you can add and build stuff. Over here, you have your different options on how to view the area. If you don't have a mouse and you're doing this on a laptop, it's a lot easier to use this little box right here to change which direction you're looking at. If you get upside down and all in like some sort of wonky position, just click the nice little home button and it takes you right back to this view. Now let's say you're working on something and you have a bunch of pieces out and you need to focus on something specifically. What you're going to do is click on that one specific item and then click on this close-in view, and it zooms you in right to that specific item. And then to go back to the main part, you click the home. Zoom in, zoom out, and a flat view. Over here on this side, you have a bunch of different little gadgets that are going to be useful once we actually start building. You can import and export your designs as well as send them to other locations. You have your work plane where you can add an additional work plane. You can use the ruler to make sure you have something the exact size that you need. You have your undo and redo tools, delete, duplicate, paste, and copy. All of these also work with keyboard shortcuts if you know how to use those. And then over here you have your shapes. I like to recommend to stay on basic shapes. You do have a bunch of other things if you click on the little drop-down menu. Some of these don't print super well. If I click and drag this chair over here, you can really see it's got a lot of detail. You can see especially right here on the back of the chair. As cool as that is, most printers that you're going to be using probably can't quite handle that, especially if you're using something that a local library has. I know for a fact that the ones that I use for our library events would not be able to handle this kind of detail, and most of this would either get completely erased in the printing or would be broken off with trying to remove the supports from the 3D print. So, as cool as some of these additional things are, as well as the shapes that other people make, I definitely recommend just stay on basic shapes, because with any of these shapes, you can make anything. You just click and drag your shape over here, and you have all these little different kinds of boxes on it. By clicking the white boxes in the corners, you manipulate both the length and the width. The white box on the very top that has this line coming up, that's the height. If you want to manipulate only one side, you click on the little tiny black boxes. And if you want to make something levitate, you click on the black triangle. To rotate an item, there are these weird little tiny curvy arrows. You'll see them in different locations. This one over here is a little bit harder to see right there. You click on that and you can just click on it and then change the degree that you want to move it and click enter, and it makes it a perfect angle. If you don't really care that much, you can just click on the arrow itself and drag. I'm going to show you how to make a really simple bookmark design. Bookmarks typically are rectangles. I typically make my bookmarks around 2 millimeters, so that's another thing. 3D printers do not use inches when measuring an item. It's all in the metric system, which means it's meters and millimeters. So right now this is showing that it's 2 millimeters, which is about the thickness of a regular piece of cardboard. I typically for bookmarks keep it between 2 to 4, just because anything too thick won't fit in a book well, and if you go to 1 millimeter, it's so thin it'll break. Now, if I want to add different designs, I can scroll down here and just click and drag hearts and stars. I can use the little arrows to change the way that they're facing. And if I really wanted to make it fancy, I can click on the item, click on solid, and change the color. Now, if you're 3D printing something, for the most part, most 3D printers are not going to print each individual piece in a different color. There are fancier printers out there now that will do that if you program it correctly by doing this kind of stuff. But those printers are very expensive and they use very advanced software. So for right now, we're just going to assume that whatever I print is going to be the same color. Your heart and your star may look really cool, being yellow and pink, but they're just going to be the same color as the plastic of the actual bookmark. Now, if I don't want these, maybe I want some words. I can go to the text option, click and drag that. Over here, I can just type in whatever I want. I'm going to change the color just because it makes it easier for me to see. I can rotate it, and I can squish it so it fits a little better, and just put it on my bookmark. And boom, I technically have a bookmark. Now you will notice the text makes your bookmark very thick. If you don't want it thick, what you can do is a really cool little thing called making a hole. So you click on your bookmark, or you click on your text, and you click the hole option, and it turns a transparent shape. This is not a hole yet. What you have to do next is you left click with your mouse to make this little tiny red perforated box. You'll see it over here. Okay, so you click that and you drag just a little bit so you get a little bit of your bookmark and your words. You let go. It highlights both of the items, and then you click the group button, which is right here. It's this weird little shape where it's a square and a circle together. When I do that, it chops away where my words were, so now it says I love to read, and it's actually in the bookmark. Now you can do this with any shape. Let's say you want a little heart, just put it wherever you want it. Hole, left click and drag just a little bit. Let's say you have your nice little bookmark, but you don't really want to put just a heart or a star or any of these little shapes. You want something unique. If you like to draw, Scribble is going to be your best friend. So you click and drag Scribble, and it allows you to draw whatever you want. I've had a lot of kids use this in order to create keychain designs of animal faces. It's a little bit hard. This is actually one of those features that works best on a tablet or a touchscreen laptop because then you can use your finger to draw. One thing about this feature I'm not totally fond of is the fact that you cannot change how big your scribble line is. This is as big as it is no matter what. But you can draw your little thing. If you don't like certain parts, you just go in and you can erase and then just click done. And now I have my nice little cat head. So I can click and drag this over. I can make it into a hole. Left click, highlight, group. And then I can click my fit to window to make it where I can see it. Now one thing, if I were to 3D print this, there would be an issue with the cat's face. You will notice this is completely cut out, which means when I print this, this giant rectangular piece would all be one piece, and then all of these pieces would be lost. They're not attached. So I would need to take another cube of some sort and just kind of use this to attach things so that when I 3D printed this, the ears and the face would still be attached, kind of like a cookie cutter. There's no need to save your project. Every time you click on anything, it automatically saves everything that you've done. Whenever, if for some reason your computer dies while you're working on something, as long as you have just clicked and moved something, it will auto-save it. Now, I wanted to show you guys some of the really cool things people have made with Tinkercad, because this is pretty impressive. This is one of my favorites that I've ever found, where you can read here, the guy originally made this 5 years ago. It was his first project. So you can see right here, this is the original. You can really see a lot of the basic shapes in this and how you have a cone for the nose, the little tip chopped off. You have some spheres that have been changed in their shape a little bit to look more like ovals. The water itself most likely was a rectangle that then the person took spheres and made them into holes to cut out to make it this choppy water effect. This is the new version. They have since added pterodactyls. They've given it a background. There's more of a transparent effect. And you can see that the colors on these, they're a lot more streamlined, they're a lot more detailed. Another one would be this dragon. The body is made up of spheres that have been lightly layered slowly to give it this effect. And then more spheres have been added on top of it with the different colors to give it the more distinct throat and back look. And then all of these little shapes are just simple little triangles that have been layered all on the sides and all on the back to give it that bumpy classic dragon scale look. So Tinkercad, even though it's fairly simple in its design and stuff, you can still make some really awesome projects. This would be a great way for you to get into 3D design if you've never worked on it before trying to get into something like Blender. I hope this little mini tutorial has helped you and even inspired you to maybe work on your own little creation. I would be really excited to see what you guys can make if you decide to start building with Tinkercad. Thanks for joining me.